Schmidt is a professor of national security and political science at the University of New Haven. Good to see you.
Good to see you, John.
So an advisor to the office of the Ukrainian president made this point about the beheadings. It completely dehumanizes and demonstrates the essence of a terrorist country. But it is important to understand the purpose. This is a psychological operation aimed at intimidation. You know, the Russian military has always had this reputation for brutality. And it seems to be an open question right now. Are these horrific acts, raping mothers in front of their children, raping children in front of their parents, torture, execution of civilians, and now this, is this the end result of poorly disciplined psychotic soldiers? Or does it go much further than that? Are these atrocities condoned and encouraged from higher-ups within the military or the Kremlin?
I'm going to quote Hannah Arendt, the great political theorist of the 20th century, who spent a lot of her career studying the Holocaust. And she coined a phrase called the banality of evil, which is that you don't have to have squads of psychotic soldiers to do these things. You have to have people who are cowed. You have to have people who are quite ordinary and will simply follow orders. And I think that's what you see here. I think it's clear that there is a systemic process here that's ordering these rapes and these murders and the torture and the kidnapping of children. I think we need to throw that in there. And it is exactly what the Ukrainians say it is. It's intended to intimidate. It's intended to frighten. But I think we also need to realize that some of this, perhaps all of it, is also an initiation ritual. And it's designed to take troops that haven't been properly trained, that have no ethics training, like our troops do, for instance. And it's designed to make them part of a team. And this is a disgusting and sick way to make a team. But it is effective, because once you commit a crime like this, once you witness it and don't seek to stop it, you're now complicit.
I want you to listen to the reaction from Ukraine's president. Here he is.
This is not an accident. This is not an episode. This was the case earlier. This was the case in Bucha. Thousands of times. Everyone must react. Every leader. Don't expect it to be forgotten. That time will pass. We are not going to forget anything. Neither are we going to forgive the murderers.
The level of depravity by Russian troops seems to be getting worse the longer this war goes on. And then when you hear talk like will not be forgotten, no forgiveness from Zelensky, clearly the time for negotiation, if there ever was one to try and end this war, that train has now left the station. Politically and morally, it would seem negotiations, at least as far as Zelensky is concerned, it's just simply not possible now.
That's right. What makes something like this beheading different is that, all war is a crime. And killing people in war, even then, is a kind of murder, but this kind of thing is intimate. And I think that's what you see reflected in Zelensky's response, is the intimacy of the death of that soldier being thrown in Zelensky's face, being thrown in the faces of his people. And the response is exactly what you say it is. It's resolve. It's not intimidation. It's saying we will fight this to the end. We will not forget, right? And I think we will not forgive is what really sticks when you listen to Zelensky. Unfortunately, in the end, wars have to have negotiations. I don't think militarily that the Ukrainians at this point are capable of expelling all of the Russians with force. And so they have to look to some point in the future where they have created enough leverage on the battlefield to get the Russians to leave by political order. But that's a very difficult thing to see in the future anytime soon.
So in the wake of these horrendous atrocities which are being committed by Russian soldiers against civilians, against Ukrainian soldiers, doesn't that, or surely shouldn't that be some kind of motivating factor for the United States, for NATO and the Allies? I mean, they're already doing a lot, but surely this is a chance, an opportunity or a moment to step up and do even more.
I think it is. I think what you see happening for the last several months is that the West is frankly creeping closer, step by step, to more and more direct involvement in this war. And Putin is pushing in that direction with these kinds of acts by condoning this kind of systemic torture, right, and these systemic war crimes. He is pushing the West buttons, and he is essentially daring the West to get involved in the war, because that's the way that Putin is able to then bring leverage in to try to get out of the war, right, and to push harder and escalate the war in the way that he wants to escalate it. And I think that's the tension that everybody is facing right now.
A good point to finish on, Matt. Thanks so much for being with us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.